Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you how we can pass arguments by the use of referencing variables in C#. Let's get to it. Okay guys, so we have a simple GUI over here. We have three variables, an X, Y and a Z variable, and when I press the go button I want the value in my text box to replace each values of my X, Y and Z variables. So first let's talk about passing arguments by reference. Well, what's the concept behind this? Well, when an argument is passed by a reference to a method, the method can change the actual value of the argument in the calling part of the program. So what that means is, if you are used to passing values in to methods, but you don't change the actual value or the actual variable that you passed to the method. Okay, but with referencing, you change the actual part of the variable. Okay, you will see now in practical it's much easier to understand. So there's two types of ways you can do this. You can use a reference parameter in the method, or you can use an output parameter in the method. So let's look at the referencing part of the methods. Okay, so the keyword is ref, for reference. So you can see I've already declared my three variables, X, Y and Z. So now I first want to quickly write a method to refresh my X, Y and Z values every time they change. So let's quickly write a method called private void refresh. It's not going to receive any parameters, and then I'm just going to say that my label X text is equal to X equals X, and then I'm just going to quickly copy and paste my label Y, label Z, Y and Z. Okay, so I'm going to call this method each time the values of my X, Y and Z changes. Okay, so now let's quickly write another method, and we are going to specify in its parameter that this is going to be a referencing variable. It's not going to be a normal variable I'm going to pass. It's going to be a referencing variable. So I'm going to start by private void. It's not going to return anything, and I'm going to call it change values. Let's just say change val, and then in my parameter, you guys are used to passing variables as such by just declaring it as an int number. But now, because this is a referencing variable, we are going to put the keyword ref for referencing in front of this initialized value. So you still need to specify the data type and the name of the variable. So I made this number and not XYZ, so you guys can see the difference that we're going to do here. And it's very simple. All I want to do is I want to change my number to the number that I have in my text box. So let's first create an integer variable that receives it. It's int.parse, receives it from my txt.text, and then my number should be equal to my value. Okay. Now take a look, you can see nowhere have I specified my publicly declared X, Y or Z variable names. Okay, so whichever referencing variable I'm going to pass in this parameters value is going to get changed to the value inside of my text box. So in my button go event, I'm going to call my change value method. First I'm going to call my refresh method so we can see, I want in my form load event, I want to call my refresh method just to see what my initialized values of my X, Y and Z are. And in my go button method, I will call the method change value, and then what am I going to put in the parameter? As you can see, IntelliSense tells me that this method wants a referencing variable passed to its parameter with the keyword ref for referencing. It tells me this method wants a referencing value, a referencing variable. So just like I declared it with the referencing keyword in my parameters, I need to pass it with the referencing keyword as well. It's going to say ref x, and after that let's refresh again. Okay, so let's run it. As we can see, our initialized is 10. That can't be right. I've never changed this, sorry about that. Whoops, Y and Z. As we can see, our x is 10, our y is 20, and our z is 30. So now let's make it 2. If I press on go, you can see that my x variable has changed to the number in my text box. But nowhere in my code where I've changed the actual value of x have I called or referenced the variable x explicitly. I've used a referencing variable. So whatever change I make to this number inside of this change value method is going to occur or be passed over to the actual original variable that I declared publicly. That's why referencing works so well between methods, because you don't need to redeclare and redeclare each variables and at the end assign it to the actual variable that you want to change. Referencing, remember the keywords ref wherever you pass it. And like I said, I've nowhere in this method where I change the value called explicitly the x variable that I want to change. So let's quickly go and change the other values. I can just do it like this, going to copy and paste. Let's make that y and z. And after I've changed all three of the variables, I'm going to refresh it again. So all of this should now change to the value I've put in my text box. You can see 555. Once again, I'm going to repeat it again. Nowhere in my code would have, in my change value method, remember I said referencing the int number. And what do I pass? I pass the x, y, and z. So nowhere in my change value method have I told in the code changed explicitly my x, y, and z value to the value in my text box. I've only told it to change the number, but as you can see at the top, my number is a referencing variable. What number is being referenced? I can see my x, my y, and my z. So it's going to change the original value here at the top.